Namukwaya, Auntie Sarah Nakabugo, and Auntie Ida Namuli. Do we happen to have anybody here from the family of Uncle Musa Musoke? Uncle Musa Musoke, there we are. So many have turned up. Thank you. So they are all the first degree relatives from my father's side of the family. Now, I've got Dr. Josephine Nkonge, who's a granddaughter. If you could stand up so that people can see you. We've got William Blick, a grandson. Hello, William. Mary Lule, a granddaughter. Zion Anderson, a grandson. Salome Nkonge, a daughter. And there's a son, Shironde Lule. There we are. We've got some in-laws here from the Nkonge family. My brother-in-law, Fred Nkonge. Dr. Fred Nkonge. Sister-in-law, Dr. Sarah Nkonge. Sister-in-law, Her Worship Agnes Nkonge. Okay, another sister-in-law, Professor Maggie Blake Chigozi. And a brother-in-law, Arthur Blake. I know Her Royal Highness Princess Rose Kajumbala Nadiope was introduced, but she's here too, our auntie. I've got a cousin here who's hiding at the back, Viola Mukasa, from our Aunt Rose Mulianti's family. Yes, I know Viola, you're hiding at the back, but I'm really sorry, you have to stand up. Thank you. And got some long-standing friends, Salome Odaka Chiwanuka. Hello, don't hide. Nakaton Sibira. Sarah Mukasa, and Harriet Sentongo. I thought I'd call a few people out for recognition. Now, the next stage, I'd like to introduce or speak about Ambassador plus Professor Semakula Chiwanuka. He's very kindly accepted to speak about our father. I haven't gone into the academic record, but as families, we had a lot of contact while we were in the UK. But apart from that, I'd like to say that Professor Chiwanuka has a very unusual CV and career. He was a professor at this university and attended Makerere and London universities. He also attended Oxford University and did a postgraduate diploma in development economics. He also spent some time at Cambridge University, which is interesting. They're all the major universities that are well known around the world. Ambassador was also the ambassador in the United Arab Emirates for a while. And for a stretch of 7 years, he was Uganda's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations. So thank you very much for listening to me, and I'll hand over to Ambassador to take over. I'm really sorry there. I've forgotten one brother who's going to be... Oh, I won't live it down. Dr. Ntwatole, please, forgive me. Oh, I won't live it down.
Vice Chancellor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my deep appreciation to the family of the late Professor Makerere. The family invited me to be the speaker today on the work, the achievements, and legacy of Professor Lule. When the family, which is represented by Madame Nora Lule, invited me, I was delighted for many reasons. First, Professor Lule recognized me as a young man that was on the eve of my graduation with a PhD in history from the University of London. That was in 1964, when he appointed me a special lecturer while I was still a graduate student of the University of London. A lot of we have heard about Professor Lule, and I would like to recognize him with 3 accolades, which I've called the 4 C's, representing the broad areas of service to Uganda, his country, that's C1, to Africa, the continent, that's C2, the Commonwealth, that's C3, and humanity. Lule had a broad and very diversified experience. He was a schoolmaster at Budo. He was a lecturer at Makerere College. He was a minister in the colonial government. He was principal or vice chancellor of Makerere. He had a stint in the Commonwealth Office. So there is Lule as Assistant Secretary General. There is Lule as President of the Association of African Universities. And there is Lule the politician, the academic politician, when he was appointed chairman of the NLF, that's the post-Amin era, and then finally Lule as chairman of the National Resistance Movement. That is a very, very long but very, very distinguished career of this distinguished son of Uganda and Africa. I wanted to look at Lule as a colonial minister. In the early 50s, was one of the Ugandans who were appointed ministers in the British colonial government before Uganda's independence. This was, let me take this off. Oh, so you were not seeing me? Oh, I'm sorry. This was at a time when the colonial government began to put Africans in senior positions, and Lule was appointed Minister of Rural Development. Surprisingly, this was also the time when Africans were sort of allowed to own shops, own places in Kampala. You cannot believe it, but that was the situation. And Lule, as a minister, sort of presided over the construction of some buildings at the current tax park. And those were called Amaduka Gabadugavu, the shops for Africans. That was in the 1950s. You can't believe it, that up to that time, Ugandans hardly existed in the city of Kampala. So credit goes to Lule as the minister who presided over the introduction of Africans in the present city of Kampala. That used to be called the tax park. I don't know what it's called today. And that was when he was minister for rural education and social development. We see Lule, and I think our presence here remembers Lule as the principal, vice chancellor of Makerere University College. Not too long ago, some of you may have read about me in the press. I was making a comment on the university's recognition of Makerere at 100 years. And to my surprise and shock, there was very little on Lule. So, in a characteristic manner, I wrote to the New Vision protesting the omission of Lule in their 100 years. This is the cutting. It's long. So we are here today, and thanks to the family and the university, to recognize this very distinguished son of Africa and of Uganda. Lule as vice chancellor in 1964, he was appointed principal, and he inherited a legacy, a history of a very distinguished institution. And I would like to say that he measured up to the challenge, because Makerere became even greater in his lifetime. It's true that Lule came when Makerere had already established itself as an academic powerhouse in research, excellence in teaching in this part of the world, East and Central Africa. There were two centers which put Makerere on the map at the time. One was the medical school, and then the Institute of Economic and Social Research. The institute attracted very distinguished men and women in the social sciences, in the humanities, etc. Some of you may have read some of their books. Professor Audrey Richards was a Cambridge lady. Professor Lucy Mayer was a London lady. There were Americans, of whom Professor Fallas was one, from the University of Michigan and Northwestern. And because this was a transition period, transition in the sense that the leadership of Makerere had moved from British hands, of whom Sir Bansen was the last, when a Ugandan of great distinction took over. But it was also a challenge, because Africans at that time were sort of demanded to perform beyond expectations, simply to prove that they too could do a job as good, if not better, than Mr. Smith. And Lule did that. I say this because I sort of matured under his leadership on this campus. What made Makerere famous? Let us focus on the School of Medicine. And I'm happy I was sitting with one of the distinguished sons, the products of the School of Medicine, Professor Paul Dabela, Dr. Maji Chigozi, and others. The School of Medicine was not only a center of excellence in teaching, but also a center of medical research. Until recently, one could not speak of medical research in East and Central Africa without reference to Makerere School of Medicine at Mulago. And Mulago was a teaching hospital where breakthroughs in medical research were made. And I have compared Mulago to London University's teaching hospitals, such as Guy's Hospital, St. Thomas, St. Bartholomew, St. Mary's, University College, St. George, and the Great Ormond, the Hospital for Sick Children. Makerere's scientific and medical research had breakthroughs, which included the discovery of Bactris lymphoma in 1958 by Dr. Dennis. Then there was the Buruli ulcers. Lule, as principal stroke vice chancellor, his responsibility was to make Makerere as an institution of learning attractive to scholars. And he, as principal, presided over a large number of dedicated teachers, lecturers, professors, and researchers. At that time, when an African took over from a white man, and this was the psychology at the time, people would wonder whether the black man would be able to do, to manage what the white man had been doing. Lule, as a successor to Sir Bansen, exceeded expectations. I say this because I was on this campus, I matured on this campus, and I saw what he achieved. There was a lady called Macpherson She used to live somewhere on Pool Road. She was a lecturer in English, and she published a book, They Built for the Future. Lule was one of those who built for the future, and the future is what we see today. We are here because Lule was one of those who built for this future which we are witnessing today. We came a bit early with Professor Dabela, and we are all alumni here. We are all professors here. And we have traveled to many other universities. So we're trying to compare notes. I asked him, Paul, have you ever been to the west coast of Africa? And he said, yes. I asked him, where have you been? He said, I've been to Nigeria. I told him, I was also in Nigeria. I was in Nigeria longer. He was there as a very famous professor, examined, etc., etc. And I was telling him, I said, Paul, we have a beautiful university. And I would like you who have not traveled, this is one of the most beautiful universities in the world. And Lule was one of those who made it what it is today. The reputation we enjoy is not by accident. It has been built by the men who have served here, and YK was one of them. I don't know why the family chose me to be a speaker. Perhaps they knew that I was a great admirer of their father, that I had tremendous respect for their father, that I had tremendous regard for what he was. If, as Macpherson wrote, they built for the future, YK built for the future which we see here today. I've mentioned Makerere as a center of excellence, medical research, discoveries, etc. And I've said Lule managed the transition from the leadership of over 40 years by the British very, very well. And what we see today is the product of his work as the pioneer Ugandan principal, stroke vice chancellor. They made a long list of his successors, but not only have they followed in his footsteps, more importantly, they found a foundation which was solid. For us who were here during his time, for us who had been abroad and seen how other universities have been managed, and we are therefore grateful for that. Mr. Vice Chancellor, sir, when Nora came to invite me on behalf of the family, I don't know what motivated them. We knew them as younger kids on campus here. We knew them later as members of the family. One of my sons is here, Dr. Chiwanuka Muchibi. He, no, I didn't, the reason why I mentioned, because we used, when we were in Cambridge, we used to come to London, and my children grew up there. And so your sister is living where we used to live for 10 years. That's in Thornton Road, next to Gatton College. Maggie, I'm sure you would remember, nearly all the ladies who taught you in Gayaza were product of Garton College. I've never found the reason why Oxford women did not come here. It was Cambridge women. I don't know why. Maybe, Maggie, you know. Maybe the Oxford women chose to go into politics because when you look at the prime ministers, the women prime ministers in the UK are Oxford women. You look for the Cambridge men, even men. They are Oxford men are in politics. The Cambridge men, or maybe we are in scholarship. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is not a day of speeches. It's a day of celebrations. Maybe the family is going to be disappointed because they expected a wonderful speech from me. But I'm here to say, as a representative of Ugandans who witnessed the great achievement of Makerere as he built the transition from the leadership of more than 40 years of this institution by non-Ugandans. And he laid a foundation which we are all proud of. I can see my contemporary here as a student and as a professor, Professor Paul Mugambi, great built for the future, because he built Makerere, was one of those who built Makerere, went and built the Association of African Universities, headquartered in Accra, in Ghana, and he has left a wonderful legacy over there. This is the man we are celebrating today, and I would like to thank the family. I would like to thank the university for making this day possible and for inviting us here today. And I would like to thank the university administration, which has decided to commemorate Makerere with a building. It was overdue, but it's never too late. We want a culture in our country which recognizes those who came before us and built this country. And Makerere was not just a builder of Uganda, as we have seen, he was a colonial minister, introduced Africans for the first time in Uganda, which I said hardly of any one of you know that Africans were not in Kampala, and came here to Makerere and built this institution. We thank you very much indeed. It's not my job to thank you for coming because I'm also a guest, but let me join Nora and the family for inviting us. Let me thank the university for making this day possible. Thank you very much indeed. And we'd like to see recognition of Ugandans, even those who had no association with the university, but those who have served this country and made it what it is. Thank you very much indeed for God and my country. Thank you.
A very big hand clap for Professor. He's made it. He's made our day. You know, a few minutes back, I was talking to Professor. And he's a mathematician from Makerere University and a former vice chancellor of Mkumba.
I never crossed those scientists. I am a professor of history.
Your Excellency, Ambassador. Thank you. So join me in thanking Professor Chiwanuka once again. He's made it a joyous occasion. Thank you so much, Professor. And as he finishes that, I want to introduce Professor Magic Ingozi as the chair of the Makerere University Endowment Fund. Professor, you're welcome. And in that regard, we want to invite every one of you to register at the table there. And more especially if you belong to the alumni of this institution, please, that appeal is key, and let us answer that and we register at the table. Amidi Stars is also a very special person that I want us to know, because as we celebrate Makerere University, there's a big history of the land that was donated by the Kingdom of Uganda. And with us is Prince Dauda Simbwa Kazibwe, from the royal family, a brother to the Kabaka of Uganda. We thank you for coming, and we recognize you and we recognize the importance of the Kingdom of Uganda in the presence of Makerere University. Our guests here today, now, it is my single honor. I don't think it's me, but I don't know if I can bring back Professor Itwe to come back here, and he invites. But I think it's now a flight straight to California, like Professor Chiwanuka said. I've been given the honor, stand in the strong shoes, to invite my boss, the chair of Makerere University Council, Mrs. Lona Magara, to come and greet you. Madam Lona, you're welcome.
The family of the late His Excellency Yusuf Lule, presented by the Ambassador, Professor Chiwanuka, and Miss Laura Lule, among very many other distinguished family members. The members of the University Council present, Professor Magi Chigozi, Chairperson of the Endowment Fund, the Acting Vice Chancellor, Professor Henry Aline, and members of the University Management, our special guests, and I want to make mention the representative from the Uganda Kingdom and Mr. Charles Stewart, who is here visiting with us today. The student community and all distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Still morning. Good morning. Thank you all for honoring our invitation to this brief but highly significant ceremony in the 100-year history of Makerere University. I especially wish to acknowledge the presence of the family of Yusuf Lule, present physically and online, and thank you for your kind acceptance of Makerere University's initiative to bestow this honor upon our gallant alumnus. Professor Chiwanuka has very ably given us his history and the contribution, the great contribution that he laid for this university. And we thank you family too. Thank you very much. The unveiling ceremony we are about to witness was, as referred to by the Vice Chancellor in his remarks, preceded by Makerere University's Council's decision to rename two of our latest infrastructure projects, the Central Teaching Facilities 1 and 2, during the 156th meeting that was held on the 8th of June 2022. The decision to rename these facilities was premised on what we felt
was our obligation as the leadership to honor the contribution of our forefathers who built the firm foundation upon which the university continues to offer excellent service to humanity. These contributions often came at a great price, which was his very life in the case of late Frank Kalimzo. The renaming ceremonies are therefore very personal and sentimental events for family, friends, and for Makerere as well. That notwithstanding, these ceremonies are an opportunity for reflection and to do all we can to immortalize the contributions of these icons for the benefit of present and future generations so that they too may be strengthened to continue bearing their crosses in service valiantly. The passing on of loved ones is usually associated with cessation of dreams, beautiful plans, wonderful times shared, and their companionship. Renaming ceremonies therefore provide a form of reprieve to recall, to reflect, to once again bring near and uphold in perpetuity the contributions of those whose lives we celebrate. On this occasion, I wish to reflect on one such event, renaming the Ian Smuts Airport to the Oliver Reginald Tambo International Airport, Johannesburg, South Africa, on the 27th of October, 2006. On that occasion, the legend Mandela had this to say of his former friend and comrade in the struggle against apartheid, and I quote, "In 1990, Oliver returned to South Africa. It was wonderful to have him near. In 2006, we bring him near again, and that is wonderful." Close of quote. From 1963 to 1970, we were privileged to have His Excellency Yusuf Lule serve as the first Ugandan principal of Makerere University. It was a sad day when on the 21st of January 1985, we heard that our gallant alumnus and first Ugandan principal had passed on in London. Today, in 2022, as we celebrate Makerere's 100 years of impactful existence and the icons that contributed to our various exceptional achievements, we bring His Excellency Yusuf Lule near again. And so, as we immortalize him by unveiling this new structure in his honor, in his name, I thank you all for all your kind attention and for taking time off your respective schedules to join us this morning as we immortalize the life and contribution of His Excellency Yusuf Lule. May God richly bless all of you as we build for the future. Have a great day. Thank you.
Join me again in thanking the chair of Makerere University Council. Professor Chiwanuka, we're on the move. Many others will be recognized actually, and even the smaller rooms there for others who have served Makerere University inside the huge thing. You're likely to find that some names are there, some prominent professors, university secretaries, and even some who have just a room, you know, in there. It's my pleasure again now, as we thank our chair of the University Council, to move to the top of our program. And this is the unveiling of the Yusuf Lule Central Teaching Facility. And before I call upon the tables that are supposed to come right here, I think it's also important that you know your captain. So I'm Dr. Muhammad Msoke Chigundu, commonly known as Dr. MMK at Makerere University. So you are in the safest hands of the flight captain. I now take this opportunity to invite the table here where the chair council is, the vice chancellor, the NORA, and then the second table, Professor Chiwanuka, and the third table. Please join in the unveiling, and Prince Dauda, please kindly join in. been advised just 1 minute because there's one key. Mr. Chironde is not yet back, and but you can interact here easily as we wait for that minute. The time is ours. Let's interact.